Alright, I'm looking at this page and it looks crazy, like super cray. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look at these functions and I'm going to use the graphs that they provide to help me out. Now, for the most part, I can solve a lot of these. Like, let's try the first one. I think I can just solve that right off the bat. I've got x squared minus x minus 9 equals 3. I'm going to pull this guy over to the other side, so that's another minus 3, so that would be x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. Then I'm going to try to factor it. That would be my first shot. If factoring doesn't work, I would use a quadratic equation, but let's see if factoring works in the first place. I've got x, I've got x. I need a plus and a minus to match up with that negative, and I want to figure out what two numbers multiply out to be 12, but the difference in between them is only one difference. And I would say 3 and 4 is my best candidates. So I'm going to put a 4 over here and a 3 over here. And therefore I know that x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 4. So I know that on this graph, which is a parabola pointing upwards, happy face parabola, crosses the 0 axis at negative 3 and positive 4. I can do that without even looking at the graph. In fact, not only that, I can use this to help me figure out what graph I'm talking about. So I'm looking for a parabola. Oh, actually, hey, they told me which parabola they're talking about. Man, that's much easier than I thought it would be. But my parabola's not on here. Why is not? They didn't give me the parabola for number 1. What a bunch of losers. Of course, I helped create this curriculum, so I mean, I guess that's talking about me. Do you guys see it and I just don't see it? Oh, there it is. X squared minus x minus 12. That would be this one right here. It didn't look exactly like this form, it looked like that one. And if you look at the graph right here, you can easily see that that crosses at negative 3 and positive 4. Man, I think they really made this a lot easier for you guys, because now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. Let's try number 2. Or you know what, let's try number 5. That one looks like the hardest one under the sun. Alright. 3x to the 4th power minus x cubed minus x squared equals 2x to the 4th power minus x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4. I'm just going to take everything and move it all over to one side. Got it? It looks crazy, but it's not really that bad, because all I know is I'm going to subtract 2x squared onto that side. I'm going to add x cubed over to that side. I'm going to subtract 2x squared onto that side. I'm going to subtract 4 onto that side. You guys understand what I'm doing before I just go off and do it? I know, Lena. I see your comment, and you're like, oh my goodness. And then I'll say, calm down, Lena. Calm down. Take a deep breath. This becomes 1x to the 4th power. This becomes 0x cubed. This becomes, what is negative 1x squared minus 2x squared? That would be negative 3x squared. And then I would just take the negative 4 and put it onto that side, equals 0. This looks way better than the one above. And all I did was I just kind of subtracted. Lena, are you good with what I did? You understand what I did? If not, say no. Okay, all right, if we're good. Another big advantage of this particular graph is it's the only x to the 4th power. So remember how I told you how to identify an x to the 4th power graph? It's going to have 3 bumps. Probably something that looks like that. If we go over to our graphs, I wish they didn't give you the equation, because then that would actually make it more interesting. They actually gave you the equation for the graph. So anyway, obviously it's this one, because it has 4 bumps. Does that make sense to you? So now your question that you're asking me now is, when does this graph equal to 0? Well, you can look at the picture and it says x equals plus or minus 2. In fact, not only that, if we were to plug in plus or minus 2 into here, we should get 0. Let's try it. If I plug in negative 2 into here, what is negative 2 to the 4th power? Let's see, that would be negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4, times negative 2 again, which is negative 8, times negative 2 again, which is positive 16. So I have 16 minus 3 times negative 2 squared. That would be 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 4 from that. What is 16 minus 12 minus 4? That would be 0. Hey, that's awesome because 0 is equal to 0. This left-hand side is 0, the right-hand side is 0. We're good. So, somebody asked me, I think it was Kaylin, how did I get 2? Oh, okay, well, you got 2 by looking at this graph and seeing where does it cross the x-axis. Where does it make the y value equal to 0? Well, at 2 and at negative 2. That's all I did. I just said, oh, that's 2 and negative 2 right there. So somebody asked me, how do you solve these kinds of equations? And I think I remember telling you, I told you in the previous video, we're going to learn techniques, but you can only solve certain ones. And that answer still stands, but the thing is, maybe the best answer would be, well, you simplify it as best as you can, you graph it using your favorite graphing calculator, and you look at the graph and you read the answers right off the graph. That might be, at your understanding right now, that might be the best way to solve these equations. You happy? If you're happy, and you know it, you should clap your hands.